Better is what I've been told.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How's life? Hi, Jenna. Can you hear us? All right,
Loud and clear.
cool. We will get started. We excuse the mayor tonight. He had a class. I think he did that on purpose. Excuse Pat Sweeney tonight. He is out doing other things tonight. So we will go ahead and get started. We'll start with meeting follow-up. Anybody have any meeting follow-up? No? No? Cool. That was quick and easy. All right, then we will move right into Urban Renewal Authority proposal. Turn it over to City Manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of council. Good evening. It's good to be here with you tonight. We're going to start our discussion this evening talking about the potential for a study to determine the implementation of an urban renewal authority. So in 2023, in response to some of council's goals, the city created a revenue team that consisted of several staff members, including Ms. Becker, who will be presenting the meat and potatoes of this proposal tonight. But that group of city employees was tasked with identifying alternative funding sources that are available to the city to fund infrastructure projects and create white papers that helped us understand the ins and outs of those potential opportunities so that we could work to implement some in our portfolio of infrastructure improvements. And so one of those was urban renewal authorities. And so if it pleases the council, I would like to have Liz present where we are and what we're proposing to move forward with the URA potential.
Liz.
Thank you, Madam Interim City Manager. Great job. As Zulema had indicated, staff has been pursuing revenue sources based on your direction, and truly the opportunity to look at urban renewal authorities is something that we wanted to bring forward to you. The timing is such with a lot of development within our community that being able to open up authorities of various land areas for revenue such as federal grant opportunities or perhaps bond financing or even tax increment financing. And what I put into the memo for all of you was to say that we, in fact, as a municipality, have had an urban renewal authority. It was created back in 2001, 2002, and off of that effort with council, it has to be approved by the municipality, we saw the old Yellowstone district created. And I think that's an important note because I know we hear a lot that, well, Cheyenne's got a URA, Laramie's got a URA, but again, we as the city of Casper, you all as the governing body authorized that many years earlier. And with the fact that we had the Urban Renewal Authority, and I say had because we let that dissolve with the old Yellowstone District, but that opened up some of the federal funds. The Teal grant through Barbara Cuban was one of the very first $3 million federal grants we got to redevelop West Yellowstone. Having the urban renewal designation, the slum and blight designation, the low to moderate income area was what we were able to get the infrastructure done with throughout the beginnings of the OYD. But we also were able, through the Old Yellowstone District, to see other federal grants, primarily through the EPA when we had the Brownfields grant for $1.6 million in 2016. So again, we have reaped the benefits, we've seen the results, and I did a news story recently about how in 2002 when we started, land was valued at 50 cents a square foot. And now what we see in the Old Yellowstone District is again, land values at $20 a square foot minimum. We've also seen, we do an inventory back then, and that's part of a blight study, is to do an inventory on every building in a designated urban renewal area to look at its age and really its level of deterioration, very in depth. And again, we have to do a comparison. We did that in 2016. We're able to look at market values of properties as well as property tax and ultimately sales tax to see the impacts. So what we are bringing forward is a request for direction from you to see if in fact we'd like to again look into establishing an urban renewal area, again authorized by the municipality. But what we're interested in from a staff standpoint is 5 different areas of Casper. And to give you a feel of what we're thinking about, we're looking at opportunities again in the downtown core. Talk about that in a minute. We're looking at some opportunities for a URA potentially out around East Ridge Mall, and some opportunities in that area that has done some languishing and possibly some repurposing. We're looking at the land that we own up around the Ford Wyoming Center, not only the property across the street, but also the surrounding area, which you all own a lot of, and some opportunities there. We're looking at partnering with the Platte River Commons and their most recent strategic plan to look at development, again, at the old refinery site. We've been successful in cleanup in the old Yellowstone district. Again, looking at a URA in the Platte River Commons would be another area. And then obviously we've got some interest in the North Casper area and getting some stimulation done in there. So I want to read you a little bit from our white paper that Zulema alluded to, and a little bit about an urban renewal authority. Wyoming state law allows municipalities to establish UREs to invigorate underdeveloped or deteriorating areas by replanning, restructuring specific areas, developing more efficient and effective infrastructure, validating land use, and restoring or repurposing rundown buildings. And again, that's what we've seen as an example with the old Yellowstone district. In Wyoming, the establishment of URAs are governed by the Wyoming Urban Renewal Law, Wyoming Statute Title 15, Chapter 9, and the powers include the ability to acquire and approve property, the capacity to issue bonds for financing projects, and the authority to collaborate with other public and private entities. And that's where the public-private partnerships, we believe, are ready to do that with the city of Casper. And so again, looking for direction from you on whether we would like staff to move forward. What staff has proposed with your approval is to put together a request for proposal and look at getting a consultant retained, and one that has done this before, likely in some other municipalities here in the state of Wyoming. And when we did this previously, we did have some consultants locally help us with a lot of the GIS data layers, because you go out and you have to, again, inventory the buildings, structures, the land. Very, very time consuming. We did it in-house in 2016 in the old Yellowstone district, and it was a lot of work. So staff would like to work and find a consultant and bring forward proposals, again, for your consideration after we issue an RFP with some qualifying requirements. So that is probably what I wanted to hit with you this evening. I would be happy to answer any other questions about urban renewal authorities, urban renewal areas, if you have them. And any other questions about what staff would be wanting to move forward with.
Okay.
Thank you, Liz, for the information. Really appreciate it. 2 questions. One, you said we had a URA in place in the old Yellowstone district and let it lapse. Curious if you could provide some further context.
Absolutely. Council, excellent. That is an excellent question. My apologies. I didn't say that in more detail. When the URA was established in 2002, it was done so with the approval of this body, but through HUD. And I referenced that in the memo, I believe, for U.S. Housing and Urban Development. I may have left that out. With HUD, we had to do an update every 10 years, but we were using community development block grant funds. And again, we were an entitlement community. We gave that up in 2019. We were able, from 2002 to 2019, be able to utilize a lot of that block grant funding, again, for infrastructure, for the cleanup. We had neighborhood cleanups to get all of the debris out of the old Yellowstone district from a lot of the abandoned properties. We were able to do redevelopment loans with that. We did 3. And again, that was all through HUD financing. So The reason that went away was in fact in 2019 when we turned that funding back over. Now it's managed through WCDA. And again, you all are aware because you approved the grant application for Juniper Ridge to do the WCDA CDBG application to preserve that affordable housing development out east. So that's the history of our urban renewal area. And again, in 2019, the belief was at that point that the old Yellowstone district was able to continue to function, and we did not need the HUD funding at that point to maintain that URA.
Thank you. So for further clarification, the URA was necessary for us to take advantage of CDBG funding and doing other things as the city, but it sounds like tax increment financing was not a component of the efforts at that point.
Another great question. Tax increment financing was brought up. It was not necessary for the old Yellowstone district because we had this other funding mechanism through CDBG. We did look into it. We recognize with tax increment financing that we would have been looking at property tax baselines. And again, I shared with you how we've seen that go up. So we were looking at those increments, but at the time, it was not necessary to pursue TIF financing at that point. We were able to be successful with federal grant applications and again, the HUD funding.
Go ahead. Sure. Anyone waiting in the wings?
I'm
Monopolize this whole thing, man.
Okay, you're doing good.
Just one. Tax increment financing is one that is really appealing to me. So please feel free to correct me if I'm misstating anything, but my understanding of it is that somebody puts a bunch of money into developing a vacant or a blighted piece of property. As a result, that property has increased property value. As a result of increased property value, there's inflation. And so TIF financing is essentially us foregoing those increased tax collections for a period of time to allow a developer to use those savings to pay down loans or other, capital costs that were required for that development.
Or make infrastructure investments privately.
Okay.
But the baseline that is established, and again, the municipality is the one that controls that. So you would set a baseline year and likely would be with the property tax. They are also our sales tax TIFs. We did a white paper on all this too. But again, the baseline's established, so anything that for the period of time, we do specify like we did with the specific purpose tax, the period of time. And so during that time frame, the increment again is what is utilized to fund infrastructure, acquisition, cleanup, any of those necessities that are in URAs.
Thank you.
But again, the wealth of types of projects, whether it's, again, building infrastructure, which we've had to do with a lot of the developments that we have. Housing, again, continues to be, but even just base cleanup or working to recruit new ownership and new uses. So, and that was emphasized in that section I had mentioned. I am particularly interested in the section that talks about the restructuring and replanning. And again, we work so hard with our comprehensive land use plan to plan the city with public engagement, but we've got some areas that I think truly could benefit with the URA to really replan, rethink, utilizing the comp plan, but also continuing to get public engagement for you.
Thank you, Liz. Are you referring to that white paper when you're talking about the restructure and redevelop?
The white paper, and I read that text from, and I did not include that white paper with that, but it is available
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
for your viewing pleasure.
No, I like the things.
I know, a little light reading.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Tax increment financing, juicy.
So TIFs and URAs, those are two great three-letter acronyms.
Mr. Bond.
Thank you. Liz, in the place that I'm trying to understand is it looking at vacant property as well as occupied, all property in that area, and include land as well as buildings, correct? Okay. And then Is part of that downtown, you mentioned the downtown core is one of the areas that you're kind of would be considered. Would that include like that? I'm just thinking of that, that section of CY Avenue between like NC going west to like say Poplar. That area in there, to me,
Tattoo shop?
yeah, it's all on my radar. I mean, that's a pretty heavily traveled street. It's pretty visible. I just think there's some opportunity there for some say, but I didn't know if it was part of that downtown core section or not. Or if it could be.
Counselors, that would be something that you would work to identify. It's all with you. I'm interested personally in the downtown area because we have a parking garage that needs a little bit of an injection. And yet downtown parking is such an important asset for all of our merchants, but we hear it all the time. And yeah, selfishly, I'd like to see an infusion in that. I look at the benefit that the URA did to the OYD, and we've got a track record. But to your point, along that CY area and the NC, you know, that was an area of focus through there with a grant we had through code enforcement many years ago. But again, it's changed a lot, evolved, and that could be another area other than the 5 that staff just threw out.
And I thought those were great ideas as well.
You all can noodle over some other thoughts if you want to, but we'd like to again get a consultant and be able to continue this dialogue and really begin to put some deep thought into it, some strategy into it.
I agree. I'm just going to tack on to Councillor Bond's suggestion. That area is also on my radar. Also, CY, West CY, across the street from like PV Liquors, that hotel and stuff. I've brought it up when we've talked to Amber and code enforcement before, and it sounds like it doesn't necessarily meet the requirements for designation as a dangerous building and, you know, demolition and tax lien and stuff. That's fine, but that areas look like that for 20, 25 years. Would love to see it change. So if this is a tool that a potential developer could use to like, whatever we can do to help spur some change in some of these areas that have not seen any activity for decades, would be awesome.
Clark, it's a beaut. I know what you're talking about.
Clark, it's
It's the season.
Keep them
Yes.
coming.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. So, we good with moving forward with this? Thanks, Liz. Let's get some,
Merry Christmas
get
to
some good
us.
work done.
Merry Christmas to you.
Judges are here yet. Okay, so go with, skip down to number 4, U.S. Economic Development Administration Disaster Supplement Grant.
Thank you,
City
Vice
Manager.
Mayor. So we are coming before you again this evening to talk about the potential for a grant. This one happens to be pretty significant. And so we wanted to make sure that council had the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. And our interim public services director, Andrew Beamer, is ready to answer all of those questions for you this evening. This would be a grant that we are proposing would help us make some significant strides in improving the North Platte Sanitary Sewer Interceptor. We estimate that the amount that we will be asking for in this grant would help us to complete more than 6,000 feet of that project, which is fairly significant, of course. So with that, Mr. Beamer.
Mr. Beamer.
give you more details.
Thank you, Zelina. Mayor, Council. Back in 2023, right as I was retiring from the city of Casper, you may remember a flood that Casper had mid-June. That enabled us to apply for this grant through FEMA. The good thing about this grant is it is a grant. There is no loan associated with it. There is a 20% match, which is why we're looking for an $8 million grant with a $2 million match, which will come from capital fund reserves. So that's money in hand that fund has. You may remember, though, that this fund has taken on some debt relatively recently. 15 million for the, oh, I'm sorry, 17.8 million. That's total, but it's 15 million for the screw pump replacements at the wastewater treatment plant and 2.8 million for what we are calling phase 2 of this interceptor sewer project. But to replace all of it, after we hopefully get phase 2 done and we're successful with this grant, we still have a $42 million obligation in the future to get it all replaced, which is, this interceptor sewer continues to be experience erosion from the gas generated from the sewer plant. So ultimately, the remainder 42 million, 43 million will have to be looked at in the future. But it would be, this is a multi-year project, obviously. So all we're looking for today is approval to apply $8 million grant, which is the key word, grant, it's not a loan. The 2 million coming from capital fund reserves, which is money that we have on hand. And even with utilizing that 2 million, we still have 1 million above fund reserve balance. So,
Any questions?
Krista, have you guys met Krista Johnson? Okay, because I'm interim, I don't know.
Great, Kyle.
Thanks, guys, for the information. Question, thanks for the context as to this is in response to the 2023 flooding. So my guess is this is kind of a one shot. We have one shot at this. See you shaking your head, not kind of in a.
Well, I think Krista pointed out was way more than I did.
Vice Mayor, Councilors, this grant is iterative. So according to our the consultant that's helping us with this, they say that we can go for this first phase, and if we're successful with this, there's opportunities to go for future phases, as long as there is still money in the EDA pocket for this specific year's disaster supplemental grant.
Thank you. I'm inquiring because I'm wondering if there was an $8 million cap, or if we could, I'm trying to decide whether you guys felt that was the most we could pull from capital reserves responsibly to get the 8 million, or if, we were able to scrounge up other money, could we potentially maximize that even further? My guess is 4-to-1 match for something like sewer is about as good as we're ever going to get. I don't think we get TAP grants for sewer 9-to-1 matches like we get for trails and stuff. So I would love to take as full of advantage of it as possible, but I'm sure those are considerations y'all made. So.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilor. Good question. We've been working with Sustainable Strategies Administrator for the grant, and he's saying anything above 10 million is probably optimistic. So we are at the cap for what we reasonably expect to achieve.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good news.
Yes.
So all I'm looking for tonight is approval to apply.
Apply.
Good news.
Let's do it.
Please do.
Awesome news.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. All right. Next up, we have our municipal court judge update. Judges?
Good afternoon. I apologize if I was a little bit late. I thought we were at 5:15.
Really early.
We
Really early. You're fine.
We scooting along a little quicker than normal.
Did you? Okay.
Geez, how are we doing this?
You're good.
All right. Well, so my part of this, Rob has his own part. My part is to talk a little bit about how we've been doing. Rob and I can one break. Is to talk a little bit about the program that we've had since February, giving people credit for treatment and that kind of thing, and the recidivism rates and that kind of thing. So we don't have, our update is not a lot different than the last time we spoke to you. So if you think of 20 individuals, so this is what it's based on, pretty much 20 individuals that have been considered for release to go to CWCC. So it's, you could be jailed, you have a jail sentence, but you can go to CWCC if you will and receive treatment. So out of 20 people, 18 of them have actually qualified, and used the release to go to CWCC. Of that 18 people, 7 have graduated from the residential program, and 8 graduated as of November 4th, but it's not part of our actual statistics yet because it was so recently. So as of September, 5 of those 8 or 7 are actually still enrolled and still going forward with their treatment, which we think is really good. So the remaining 6 of the 18 released have left the program against medical advice and have reoffended, or entered the program again and then checked themselves out again. So it hasn't been entirely successful, and or they have an active warrant for failing to fulfill that obligation for treatment. So we're still working on that. Almost 40% of the defendants that entered the program have graduated and not reoffended post-release. Each one of those defendants has received credit on their fines of $30 a day while in residential treatment. In several cases, this has significantly reduced the fine balances or even removed them entirely. So these people that are reoffending, especially with the alcohol addiction, that are coming in, $100 at a time and racking up thousands of dollars in fines, when we give them basically the same $30 a day that we would give them if they were incarcerated as a credit on their fines, that seems to be incentivizing them. Plus they get treatment and they're not reoffending as much. So outside the usage of CWCC directly, the courts have seen an average of 75% reduction to recidivism, which I think 75% is great. And this is due to treatment credits that are given not only inpatient, but also outpatient, because they can bring in proof of counseling, whether that's inpatient, outpatient, AA meetings, whatever it is, to get credit on their fines. So here's the numbers, the dollars. Of the 18 defendants addressed above, and regarding the release to treatment and stats associated, there has been a total of 3,151 days that were actually ordered to be served. Okay. Only 775 of those days were actually served under the minimus orders. So if they had served the 3,151 days, that would have cost the city $463,197. As it stands, it cost $113,925, which is still expensive. That's the cost of enforcing our laws, but it's still, I think, an incredible move forward. So the savings in the jail costs for the 18 defendants is $349,000 and some change. That's from February through November. So like I said, it's not a huge increase from what we gave you in August, but it is an increase. So the only other thing I had was, I just wanted to mention that I am taking the Judicial College from the bench, a new judge thing. I feel like, as just an update for the council, I feel like it's been good, but I probably should have taken it a year ago. I feel like it's just a little bit remedial at this point. But one thing I wanted to bring up is they talk a lot about, and actually scared me to death, they talk a lot about security for judges, and I feel super secure in the courtroom. I've taken some steps at my home to make sure that I'm secure. I don't know how Rob feels about this. Our security in court is second to none. But you guys always ask me, is there anything we can do for you? So I'm about to tell you what maybe you could do for me, just to consider it. So we park, Rob and I park over there. It would be great if we had maybe a closer parking place so that we don't have to go so far with people, because I do feel like we have dealt with increasing instability with folks, and Rob's going to talk to you about that, about those upswings. So thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you for all the stats.
Great. Yeah,
Well,
thank
thank
you.
So I don't know that I necessarily was going to talk about upswings or anything like that. I primarily wanted to talk, Councillor Haskins suggested at some point that we kind of go back through and explain a little bit more detail of what the jurisdiction of the court is. So the key to remember is that under Wyoming statutes, the municipal court is designed to enforce the municipal ordinances and nothing else. So under the statute, we do have exclusive jurisdiction over the violations of municipal ordinances. So in cases like zoning and code enforcement violations, all of those charges have to go through our court. there is no alternate court that those can be filed in. The same would apply for our parks rules and regulations as well as animal control ordinances. Again, those have to go through our court. Now, there are other violations that we have what we call concurrent jurisdiction with the circuit courts. And what that means is that for those type of violations, the officers that bring the charges have the discretion to bring them either in circuit court or municipal court. And those would be things like primarily the uniform traffic control ordinances that we've adopted. And that includes DUI and things like that. So those cases, again, if they bring them in the circuit court, they'd have to cite the state statute. If they bring them in the city court, they cite the municipal ordinance as adopted, the state statute. And then the other thing is then that this court doesn't have any jurisdiction over anything that would be a felony. By statute, our maximum jurisdiction is a fine of up to $750 plus up to 6 months in jail. So anything beyond that is a felony, and it has to be filed at least initially through the circuit court and then through the district court if it ends up being bound over for felony. So we are limited in the cases that we hear, and which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing. We don't see any domestic relations assaults, although there again, we do kind of have some concurrent jurisdiction because the officers can charge them with a regular domestic or regular assault and battery, even though it's a family member. And it would still potentially go through our court, even though potentially it could be filed as a domestic violation or a domestic assault violation. So that's, I don't know if you have any questions about that, but it seems like there was some confusion about the kind of cases that we hear. But again, it has to be a violation of the city ordinances in order for it to be brought in our court.
And I might have kind of blindsided Rob. I went through and did kind of a comparison, and the upswings that we're seeing is primarily in DUIs and theft related. So that's all I have to add. Sorry about that, Rob.
That's okay. Appreciate the input there.
Any questions about that part?
No question, but I do appreciate it, Rob. It's old news to me at this point, but it took me probably 3 years on council
To get that.
to really ingrain that. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Something a lot of people don't understand, I think. And this is great too. I've never seen anything like this.
That's all Letitia. She did that for us.
Thank you,
So take credit for that.
Anything else?
Can I ask, regarding the comments about DUI increase and theft increase, is that what you were talking about when you said more unruly behaviors or something like that? The only reason I ask is because in our homelessness coalition meetings, we have been hearing from a lot of stakeholders, and I'd say probably the past 6 months, that their interactions with people that are, frustrated or have some sort of issue with service delivery, like they're reporting more and more like physical altercations, like heightened tensions, just people just in a worse state of mind, it seems like the past 6 months. So I didn't know if you were seeing that in court as well.
I don't mean an upswing in like disturbances type of things. I don't know that we're getting any more of those than we normally do, but I do think that there is probably some more addiction issues, and we're seeing as many, if not more, public intoxes and things like that. And then, of course, there is usually some sort of disruption that goes along with that. So I think that the giving them credit for counseling has been effective, but there's just some people that just don't want to do it. But yeah, I think there is some frustration, and I had a guy in court, in fact, today, who was very angry, and he was very angry about the whole situation that he had because he was charged with a public disturbance because he was in his car and just angry, and somebody called, I think, more concerned about him. But yeah, I think there's an increase in frustration, but I don't know that I think that it's caused from problems with service calls. I think it just Maybe it's personal, I don't know.
Jenna, you had something? No? Oh, thought you raised your hand. Randy?
Thank you for this. I appreciate it. Here, I thought I was pretty well in the know meeting with you, but I had no idea. So now I even know more. I didn't realize it was this many. Like I knew that when it came to drugs, which drugs, which alcohols, which things, that a lot of us, Mike and I would say Mike and I had no idea when we started what actually happened in municipal court besides MIPs, really. So I appreciate this. And now I find out I really still have no idea. So
Well, again, feel free anytime to come in and watch. I don't know how exciting it is, but, you know.
I
feel-
got excited
Did you?
when I was in your court. It was so informative.
Well, good. One of the few happy customers. Most of them are not that happy with it.
Well, I wasn't the one in trouble.
Exactly. It helps. Makes a difference.
That
doesn't
time
it?
really helped my cause. But, no, thank you. And I have seen some of them come in just to pay fines, be downright mean, or nice little ladies in the window. So I can understand where a long walk might be. So I feel like that's probably something we could.
It is kind of scary because this class they were talking about, I thought, oh, municipal court, it's misdemeanors, nobody's gonna get mad about it. I mean, really mad about that, but it's because we deal with a kind of an unstable population. Most of them are pro se, that we do have that danger a little bit. Not like a federal judge that puts people away from life or anything, but, you know, it's a concern. People do get angry. Just something that asking for some consideration, just think about it.
Anybody else?
What's your stance on pygmy goats?
They're adorable. I want 10 of them.
They're so cute.
They're so cute, and I'm an animal lover.
Just trying to be proactive.
No comment. It's up to you.
What does the ordinance say?
Mike, I do have a question now, not a question, but is that something that we can go ahead and put on executive session? Discuss that? I just don't feel comfortable talking about parking and safety for judges online. Can we put that in a
Yes.
executive session item and have some further discussion?
Yeah, we will do that. Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks.
I very much appreciate your consideration of that.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Thanks, judges. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your attention.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Well, that brings us down to 6:05, agenda review. Anybody have anything on the agenda we need to? Anything?
Yes. Vice Mayor, thank you. So just as a reminder for you all, that there will be no work session the week of Thanksgiving. So we will have our regular business meeting next week. Have a couple of exciting pre-meeting items to talk to you about, including third spaces and the subcommittee's recommendation on opioid funding distribution. And then, again, you're skipping the work session that would normally be on November 25th. When we skip a work session, sometimes that means that subsequent meetings may go a little bit longer. And right now, as docketed, that is the case for December 9th, although it is quite possible that some of those items will drop off. So just to make you aware, again, if there are items that you would like to hear from us on, please make sure that we are aware of that and get them docketed.
Okay. Anybody else? Boy, we're an exciting bunch tonight. Then we will move on to council around the table. Kyle, we'll start with you and work our way around.
Good, thank you. So I had a Casper Housing Authority Board meeting last Thursday. Currently utilizing 567 vouchers. Kim, the executive director, mentioned I had asked about SNAP and LEAP funding because those were all kind of in flux. She mentioned about 20% of her tenants usually enroll in LEAP, so there's definitely a lot of anxiety from her tenants about not having access to that resource, especially as we enter high usage season. Same goes for SNAP. They are doing food distribution at all of their properties, kind of food pantries in the common areas for their tenants. And so lots of places to donate to, but Casper Housing Authority is certainly one of those options if you feel so inclined. She reported lots of hiccups resulting from the government shutdown, unsurprisingly, especially as it relates to access to the HUD website and their programs. And at least until the government is not shut down, there was no IT assistance to restore connectivity. So just totally, they were locked out of systems and nobody helped get them into systems. So it's made for a very clumsy few weeks for their team. That was our last board meeting until the first of the year. December, we usually forego our board meeting for their staff Christmas party. But upcoming, they have their Birds and Bucks turkey drive on the 21st from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Walmart East. They said they've already had 100 applications from families this year. I'm sorry. They had 100 applications for families last year. They already have 234 this year. So they're seeing a huge increase in the amount of people applying for help for the Thanksgiving holiday. And again, that's more than double from last year and still a few weeks out from the event. So, and then I think lastly, I was just really disappointed to hear the news over the weekend of the fatal crash on CY Avenue out by my house. I drive that road every day. And then the subsequent collision of our police, somebody running into our police cruiser just a couple hours after that. So my heart goes out to the victims of that first crash and to their families during this. It's an incredibly painful way to spend your weekend. And, we're still waiting for the details to come out about that, I guess, but just serve as a stark reminder. It sounds like drinking and driving was a component of one or both of those. And so just a reminder to folks, not just your own life at risk, you're putting everyone else's that share the road with you. Just try not to do that anymore. Thanks. That's all I got.
All righty. Thank you. Randy.
So I asked Anna if she would help me try to be better at this. So I have a statement. Public health meeting. They have new services they're offering. They are now doing DOT physicals. And WIC is now fully functioning underneath the public health umbrella. That's the Women, Infant, and Children program. They are currently facing funding issues for maternal and child health, be that federal and all other grant options. So they are now working with the state legislators and county and probably city in regards to how they continue offering home visits and maternal health services for high-risk mothers and infants in this county of Madrona. Their new building, the hope is that they will be fully operational by beginning of February 2026. They're ahead of schedule and under budget. She likes to brag that one. And they are currently leading the efforts with the SIM update, and they are still actively involved in the mental health summit and all of the coordination that we are doing in Casper regarding the youth mental health and the youth violence and all of those programs that we started. So that's what I have for public health. Look, I feel like I finally contributed, you guys. So thank you.
Good job. Jenna.
Yeah, good evening. Sorry I couldn't be with you guys tonight over there in person, but I had a couple of constituents reach out. Not sure if anybody else has heard from them, but they're concerned with some activity that's going on over at Yesness Park in the wee hours of the morning, usually between 12 and 2 a.m. And so usually when that happens, it's nothing good. Things like one of them did file a police report on a peeping Tom that's been over there. Otherwise, like there's camping, vandalism, there's some spraying paint, headlights in the window that are shining from the park over across into their windows. Hasn't seen any patrol cars around there, but not to say that they haven't been there, but I'm just wondering if, I don't know, if I'm assuming chief or somebody is hanging out back there, but if they can look into it. And then also my other question is there a curfew? Like I would assume it's a city park. So would there be a curfew that's posted out there or something that stops those loitering behaviors, trash and littering and, all of the above.
Chief?
Counselor, Mayor, there is some curfews. I'm not sure if that park itself is specifically posted with any signage down there that says park closed or anything like that. Officers do routinely. We are aware of some of the issues that go on in that park as well as all the other parks in town. The graffiti, the loitering, some of the property damage, things like that. We're just not always there. I'm not trying to lay out a defeatist or a attitude, but we get through there when we can and try to circumvent some of those issues. But there is currently no signage in that park, from the park closed from this time to this time or anything like that. No.
Do something about getting some more signage out there.
Okay. Thanks
Vice Mayor.
for that.
Council.
Yeah, so if we could follow up and maybe do some sort of signage there. She did mention that there's some tagging that has been happening over there. So maybe if we could have somebody remove that. Just, those kinds of things. I know people take advantage of parks after dark to do a lot of not really great things. So we could kind of cover that up and, and just discourage it anyways. But that's pretty much all I have. So it's a quiet week. I didn't have any meetings that were council related anyways. So that's all I got.
Okay. Madam City Manager?
Vice Mayor, thank you, Counselor. So I have received some of those concerns and I'm working with staff on looking at what makes the most sense. So as Chief mentioned, that particular park does not have posted hours and in fact, most of our parks don't if they follow the standard, ordinance established hours, but we are looking at if it makes sense to do that and what we can do to help improve the safety, particularly of the parking lot at Yesness, where we understand is the primary concern. So we are working on it.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Mr. Bond?
Let's see here. I don't know if Councilor Gamroth was able to give you an update about the committee meeting, the legislative committee meeting last Tuesday.
No, I can't, but I did not.
Okay, well, there's not much to update other than the proposed legislation. Kyle and I know we're online and probably Fleur for the committee testimony. Mr. Schriftman actually got ahead of us. was called to testify, but they actually ended up tabling the proposed legislation about municipality lobbying and testifying and so forth with committee. So that I felt was. Other than that, I was under the weather. After that, I didn't make last week's meeting, so I apologize. But missed some other important meetings as well that I was really disappointed at. But I was like I said, under the weather. I don't know if Councilor Sweeney or if anyone else attended the Council for Safety and Justice summit last week that I had really hoped to go to and just missed the whole darn thing. But other than that, I've had, there's been a lot of social media chatter about the conversion to the digital pass idea. So I'm hoping that gets ironed out there, but I don't know if that's something that there's any follow-up required on that. I think it's just my takeaway is that it's kind of the more people learn and get a chance to kind of use it and try it out and get over the initial change, it'll be okay. That's my hope anyway.
People just hate change.
That's right. Nobody likes change. I don't know if the chief or city managers, there's some communication emails from a resident at Oregon Trail neighborhood at Buckboard Road and
Springs.
about the change in speed limit or some speed limit size removed or something. So just, I want to make sure you were aware of that and perhaps the chief or whatever could respond to that person. So other than that, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Matt?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Amber?
A week ago, I was here attending the SpecTax News Conference. If you missed that, it featured a lot of folks from the community and also from city staff providing information about that tax collection and most interestingly for me, I think updates on each of the 4 voter-approved projects and the progress related to each one. So if you didn't get a chance to attend or watch that, I do think we were live streaming it from our Facebook page, so I suspect you can still go back there, and there was some news coverage as well. So if you're looking for some up-to-date information about where we're at with that collection, I thought that was a really helpful amount of information that was presented. I attended just a snippet of the Natrona Council Safety and Justice summit that they had. By all accounts, it was really valuable for everybody who spent more of their time there than I did. It was valuable for me too, but I was only there for just a short lunch. But I did get to hear a lot from folks who had spent more time there, and it sounds like it was very valuable, and a lot of good dialogue came out of that those 2 days. So thanks to the Collective Health Trust for putting that on and inviting us all to go to that. Tonight I'm being hosted by Better Wyoming. They invited me to come speak at their monthly meeting to talk about the budget. So really my presentation will be focused around the anatomy of the budget, the construction of the budget, a little less on this year's specific, this fiscal year specific budget, though we will touch on that, but more trying to talk budget basics so that as we start into our next budget cycle, folks have a little bit more context for how we're putting that together, what the process looks like, what the schedule looks like, and those sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to getting to chat with folks about how we do that and what goes into it and kind of how the budget is built. So appreciate folks from city staff for helping me get all the details in place, and Kyle for putting some extra eyes on my presentation as well. So yeah, looking forward to that talk with the community tonight at the Mental Health Hub at 6 p.m. So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes once I've done it. That's it.
Awesome. I also got to go to part of the NCSJ summit. It was very good. I was, with my work with Peace in Our Cities, it was really nice to see some of the different nonprofits that are actually seeing some movement in some of the stuff that we've been talking about for so many years. And it was great to see a lot of stuff that is moving forward and everybody working together. I think we've overcome a lot of issues that we were having, so that we're now able to move forward with some mental health help and a lot of that kind of stuff, the homelessness. And so some great things happening in Natrona County. And just a shout out to everybody that is involved in that. It's great to see. Also attended the SpecTax update. That was some, like Amber said, that was some wonderful information. I too am with the rec out on CY. The people that were involved with that are over 50-year close family friends of ours. And so our condolences, our heart goes out to the Butler family. Mandy's funeral is tomorrow. Randy is still in ICU and in serious condition. I hope and pray that he will pull through. It was a terrible event, but and that's all I've got. City Manager, anything from you?
No, sir.
Wallace?
Nothing.
Very good. All right. Then we need a
Just leave.
no formal action.
Yeah, he just
All right.
leaves.